Hey folks, happy Friday, everyone. It is, in fact, Friday. I checked this time to make sure before I said anything. So happy Friday. It's the 21st of May. Is it Friday? Yeah. In fact, it is. So I wanted to sort of expand on what I was talking about yesterday. Yesterday I mentioned how I had that student being frustrated about completing his assignments, and how I echo some of these frustrations. This has been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year for everybody, teachers and students included. And having one of the nice things about where I work is we've been having a lot of staff meetings and trainings, and the messaging that's been repeated over and over again is essentially to just try and have a little understanding that, we're all going through some really weird, trying times, and some of us more than others. So, like for myself, for example, my personal life is going great. We're at home. We get to spend time with the family. We've all thankfully been very healthy, but that's not the case for everybody. And as somebody who's in charge of other people, classroom full of students and their grades and their livelihoods and their futures, I have a responsibility to sort of take my own lens out of the equation and do my best to sort of put myself in their shoes, put myself behind the lens of my students. I'm realizing this shirt's kind of coming off a little weird on camera, but I don't know. I like it. It's a fun shirt. My wife got me this shirt. Yeah, suits me well. But anyway, so I got another message from a different student last night, and she was actually giving me some feedback about how the assignments have gone this year. And part of me wants to get defensive and be like, oh man, you should have let me know at the beginning of the year. But this is something that I have been knowing, but I have not been acting on, and just, hasn't been something that we've been doing. And she suggested that a lot of the lessons, we're referring to the SketchUp lessons, that a lot of the lessons should be recorded. Because what I'll do is I will go into SketchUp when we're demonstrating a lesson. I'll do a live demonstration on Zoom because that's the platform we're using. I would do a live demonstration, and then we would review it 2 or 3 times in class, like between the first time the students see the lesson and when it's due. And to me, I'm thinking, well, yeah, that's enough. We spent the start of the year doing tutorials. There were these, printed tutorials. They had these step-by-steps. So that was really good. The students could follow. And the idea was sort of a gradual release of responsibility where, we start taking away some of the tutorials and focusing more on, having lighter instructions, more generalized instructions. And all right, you're supposed to take this and synthesize it into a finished product, right? But the thing, and I assume that, you make a lot of assumptions as a teacher. You kind of have to, in order to get through your day, through your week, through your year. But at the end of it, part of the job is to sit back and reflect on what went well, what didn't. That's just as much as part of the job as coming up with a lesson and delivering that lesson. You have to go back and think critically about what you did, what you set out to accomplish versus what you actually accomplished, and the pros and cons of all of those aspects of your lesson. And that's a constant process. It's something that new teachers really get inundated with. I remember when I was first learning to teach, And I mean, nothing really comes natural to you. Well, some things do, but most of it doesn't. And, in our state, in California, we would have, I don't know if they still do it, but we would have an induction process where the first 2 years of your full-time employment, you were basically doing this mentor program, this sort of mentorship training program. And that was designed to basically get you, you've gone through the teacher prep program, you've learned how to be a teacher, but then you're being mentored in your first couple of years to make sure that you're staying on track, that you're still growing, because there's so much that there's so much that goes into teaching that you're not just going to learn it in a few classes in school. You have to experience it. And I know other jobs are like that too, where you have to experience it and grow into the position over time. It's very rare that a first-year teacher is going to be able to just, pick things up. My wife is an exception. She went into full beast mode and took it super serious, and she was amazing her first year. But for the rest of us normal people who aren't superheroes, we actually have to work at it. But the thing is, that work doesn't stop, once you're a third-year teacher. Yeah, sure, it gets a lot easier, but there's kind of an old rule that I profess and I stick by. I don't know how scientifically accurate it is, but it seems true, and I haven't had anybody disagree with me so far, is that you don't really feel all that comfortable in teaching any particular position until about year 3, maybe 4. It depends on the position, depends on the person. Your first 2 years in any one teaching position it's just a lot of trial and error. And the more veteran of a teacher you are, if you've bounced around from job to job, or from subject area, really, not position. If you bounce around from subject area to subject area, you develop little tools for dealing with those changes, and, you might be able to adapt faster. And some people can adapt faster than others. Me, I'm kind of, I change slowly. I kind of have to build up steam and momentum. So, it's not really until that, that third year where you really start to feel comfortable, like, yeah, you actually know what you're doing in that job. Because the first year is, you're just kind of figuring things out. You're trying something and they either work or they don't. And then you reflect on that. Your second year, you're trying it again. You're implementing some of the changes from the first year and trying some new things. And by the third year, that's when you really start getting that momentum of, all right, I've done this twice. I found out what works, what doesn't. I had a chance to test a few theories. And it's not that things go perfectly all the time. It's just the confidence starts to increase. But a lot of people don't realize that, new teachers, and especially people who are outside of the profession, it is like anything. It's an iterative process. You try something, it works or it doesn't, you reflect on it, you tweak it, you try it again. Okay, that's the iterative process. But it's not like, Elon Musk building a starship where, they can throw one together, shoot it up into space, see what happens. Does it blow up? No, great. It falls over. Okay, let's figure out what went wrong. And that thing is cycling. You've got the cycling process, on like several month timeline, or maybe an artist who is like on a several week time, is doing a project where they're creating something and churn it out in a few days or a few weeks, and they look at it. Okay, I want to change this. It's an iterative process that takes a year to accomplish, because that's how our schooling structure is set up. It's a school year, starts in the late summer, early fall, ends in the late spring, early summer. And the way that most of our curriculum across this country, especially in California, is set up is that you're following a curriculum pace throughout that whole year. It's not like we could do a lesson in October and then say, oh yeah, you know what, that didn't go so well, so let's try it again in November, and then we'll try it again in December. Like you could make that work if you were cleverer than I am. But generally, as a teacher, as a class, you have to move on. You've got standards, you've got curriculum requirements and deadlines that you have to meet, or at least, if not deadlines, at least curriculum standards that you're supposed to get through. Because you get through something in October, well, you've got something different that you need to cover in November. And so the iterative process, it takes a full year. And that can be very frustrating for some people who are, want, quicker results. That's the thing about education. It takes a lifetime to accomplish. It's not something that just happens overnight. We're talking about behaviors. We're talking about knowledge. We're talking about a lot of things that I'll go into that. So, anyway, the student who had messaged me had talked about how it was very frustrating for her because, and I understand these frustrations completely. That's, she's in the right here. Okay, I'm in the wrong, if you could call it that. But her frustrations were that I would do the lessons, and no matter how many times you do it, doesn't matter. It's the same thing over and over again. I would do the lesson, and then, however much time would pass, she'd sit down and go to do the work. And it's like everything that I talked about is just gone gone from her head, and that's frustrating, when you go to sit down and that you learned something, that you were supposed to have picked something up, and then you go to sit down to do it, and you're drawing a blank. Like, I've been there. I understand that. So she suggested that, maybe those lessons, those SketchUp lessons, should be recorded, so that I can post those recordings, those lessons, and students can replay them at their leisure, and not have to worry about forgetting stuff. I didn't do that because I made some assumptions that I see were probably incorrect. My assumptions over the year were that we started the first semester with lots of tutorials. So we didn't have videos, but we did have step-by-step instructions and tutorials that students were relying on as they were learning the program. So as they were learning the different tools, they could reference, it was like a Google slideshow sort of thing. They could reference those materials and refer back to them when they were doing their work. But my assumption was that we could gradually take that away, and that all students would be able, to thrive with that. And that was an incorrect assumption on my part. Okay. Not everybody is going to be a master at SketchUp, right? The kids who are going to be good at it, they're going to be good at it. They're going to pick it up. The kids who aren't, or maybe the kids who missed a couple of assignments, are they going to go back and complete those earlier assignments and really get a grasp of what's supposed to be done? Probably not. If their brain is not attuned to 3D modeling, are they going to be able to pick that up? Probably not. It would be helpful to have a video series really of these assignments. So my reflection on this, it's at the end of, let's be clear here, okay? I can't go back and change the past. I would if I could, but that's not a trap that I'm willing to let myself get caught in. It's at the end of the year. This right now, today, in fact, the students have their last SketchUp project due. I'm not assigning any more for the rest of the year because there's some other things that I want to cover. But my reflection for next time, if I do teach SketchUp again, which probably will, if we do teach SketchUp again, then I'm definitely going to have some videos available. And that's something that, I could have done since I started my YouTube channel, but, I can make excuses all I want. Like, well, I was still learning how to make videos, which is true. I wasn't ready, which, not so true. But bottom line is, that's what I can do for next time. Now that I have a little experience making some videos, and I feel that would actually be a really good way to expand on my channel as well. I've got, I've got my target audience to think about. Who's my target audience? People who want a woodshop class, okay? Whether it's a student or, someone who's in their 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s, who wants to hear a woodshop teacher talk. Hey, I'll be your woodshop teacher. But that means that I can go back and basically re-record or record all of the lessons that I possibly can. So I'm working on a safety video right now. That's mostly done. I'm still waiting on a few parts to come together with that. Sorry, the neighbors' gardeners decided to start doing their work today. All the SketchUp lessons, I've got those lessons. They're good lessons. We just need to record them so that I can go back and in future years, when students do that lesson, they can reference that. They miss something, they can go back and see it. And then I can still post that on my YouTube channel. So it does double duty. So there's no reason not to. But anyway, that is my reflection on the year, is making sure to record things for posterity. There's no reason not to, really, because once it's recorded, I don't have to record it again. It's there. So every year that I teach SketchUp, every year I teach a particular lesson, if I have a student who's out for a week and misses a lesson, I can say, hey, go watch this video and you'll get all caught up. If I have a kid who is sitting there late at night struggling with his or her assignment for whatever reason, reasons don't matter, but they're sitting there struggling. They forgot what to do. They're panicking. They can go to that video and say, oh, okay, that's how we do it. Honestly, that's how we learn anyway, right? If we're trying to solve a problem and we're trying to do it ourselves, what do? We go onto YouTube, we search up Google, type it in, and we learn whatever it is that we're trying to learn. Okay. If we miss something in the video, we hit pause, we go back 10 seconds and review it. That's how people learn these days. So my resolution is to get with the times, get better about recording my lessons and posting them so that everyone, my students, viewers, subscribers, anyone can see them. So that's my goal. I just discovered my purpose in life, or at least my purpose online. So, all right, guys, y'all have a good one. Have a good weekend, and I will see you all on Monday.